Ollie Hoyle, catering manager.
Peter Molar, doorman.
Ricardo Oliva, concierge.
Ulrich Edwards, concierge assistant.
We've got you.
Linda Anderson, cafe owner.
Ioana Georgiou, junior sous chef.
Nuno Pinto, bartender.
Mark Black, head porter.
Andrea Demir, receptionist.
We've got you.
Aaron Dixon, apprentice chef.
Federica Pinna, pastry chef.
Sabino Mazzone, pastry chef.
Himari Bochkay, barista supervisor.
We've got you. Sean Maharjan, sushi head chef.
Mitchell Collier, duty manager.
Anna Grabczewska, public area cleaner.
Whatever you do in hospitality, isn't it good to know that someone's got your back in case anything goes wrong?
And it's absolutely brilliant seeing all the different roles within Hospitality Action and all the different people who are involved within hospitality. And a lot of them would really struggle without the charity. So now we're going to be joined by Jeremy Gibson from Hospitality Action.
Good morning. How are you doing?
I'm very well. Yourself?
Yeah, very good.
Good, good. And we're also going to be joined by Martin Hilton.
Hi, good morning. Hi, good morning, everyone. Hi, Jeremy. Hi, Sean.
Morning, Martin.
You're right. So just tell us a little bit about Hospitality Action and let's dive into a little bit of a talk between you two. It'd be absolutely brilliant. Thanks very much, guys.
Fantastic. Cheers, Sean. Hi, Jeremy. How are you?
Yeah, very well, thank you. Very well, enjoying the weather.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm just thinking there might be some viewers that are watching that haven't heard about Hospitality Action. Can you give us a little bit of background about the charity, when it started, what it does, what its purpose is?
Of course, yeah. So Hospitality Action is a really old charity. We've been around for the best part of 180 years. And we exist to help people in the hospitality industry or who have worked in the hospitality industry when they find a time of crisis. That tends to be people who can't work through illness, or it could be a mental health issue or family issues. And what we do is we provide financial support to help people get back on their feet again when life's been a bit tough for them. We also provide psychological support. So we help people with mental health problems, with addiction issues and things like that. And we also provide services for people within companies. So we have an employee assistance program, which means that an employer can put in place a range of counselling and support services for their employees. We're a really little organisation. There's only 17 of us, and we've been working away in the industry. You know, we're quite well known, and then all of a sudden, kind of the world changed completely for the industry and therefore for us.
Yeah, certainly did, and I'm surprised to hear that there's only 17 because I'm from the industry. I know the charity really well. It seems like such a big organisation, and it's probably good that people know it's a very tightly run organisation. But you seem to have so much support from the charity and the chefs and celebrities. I mean, can you think of a few that are connected, or tell us about a few that are connected?
We've been really lucky because we've got some fantastic regional fundraising boards. So it means that we're not one of these charities that's quite faceless. You know, people like Paul Askew up north, Gary Usher, people like that, they advocate for the charity and they wear it on their sleeves. So it means that, we're very visible across the UK. In terms of patrons and supporters, we're again really lucky. We've got Jason Atherton, Tom Kerridge, Raymond Blanc. We've got some kind of real industry heavyweights who really see the value of what we do and are really supportive of us. So it just means that despite the fact we're kind of a really small team, that we were able to reach a lot of people in the industry by virtue of the fact that we've just got such amazing people who support us and do stuff for us.
Yeah, it's fantastic. We'll come on to COVID in a moment, but why is it that the industry needs this support, or the people in the industry need this support? Do you think? What are the drivers that make it such?
I mean, I think the first thing to say is hospitality is a vast industry. It's one of the biggest employers in the country. There's the better part of 3 million people that work within it. So you're inevitably going to get people, with all elements of the human condition affecting them. I think, it's true that hospitality is a tough industry. People work incredibly hard in our industry, and it's an industry that will take all comers, but not every job is fantastically paid. So people do work really hard with often kind of difficult, family circumstances or whatever. So it is quite a high pressure industry, and I think it's that pressure. It's a double-edged sword. We love that pressure. The thrill of service is part of why people do this job, but equally it can be stressful and it can be physically demanding.
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I think particularly younger people well, it doesn't have to be younger people, but people that are in perhaps some of the supposedly lower skilled jobs, that enraged me a couple of months ago when hospitality workers were put in the low skill category. But those sort of jobs of that type, I suppose, where it doesn't attract great salary, but long hours and hard work and all those things that we typically know of, and the pressures of life. I guess that's where people sometimes take a fall, isn't it? And to know that Hospitality Action is there for them must be a tremendous support.
Exactly. We provide kind of short-term help to get people back on their feet. So a lot of what we've done is, help people who've been victims of domestic violence, or, they may have had a relationship breakdown. There could be children involved. And we're able to offer financial and psychological help to those people because, a lot of people starting in life, they haven't got a vast amount of life experience. People get into difficult situations, and, it's good for employers and for the industry to know that we provide a safety net to help people get back on their feet.
And that's brilliant, isn't it? So it's not just about providing cash; it's about providing that support and which people just can't access. I mean, it's so hard to access those sorts of things. It's wonderful to hear. And moving on and using the dreaded C word, which has changed in its formation over recent weeks. But thinking about COVID, I mean, what impact does that sort of play, or what happened? I mean, the emergency appeal, I understand. Can you tell us about the emergency appeal?
Yeah, I think the first thing to say is that, the COVID emergency started to impact hospitality before it was really a known thing in the UK. I remember being at the HRC show down at Excel in East London, talking to hoteliers who throughout January and February were suffering with really low occupancy because groups were cancelling. So by the time we got to the kind of the lockdown period, a lot of businesses were already struggling and a lot of casual staff had already been let go. Now, fast forward to when the Prime Minister made the announcement that we're going to go into lockdown, because there was a bit of a gap between the kind of lockdown announcement and help arriving from the government, lots of places just closed. Tens of thousands of people lost their livelihood overnight. And, that's casual workers, that's agency workers, that's people at entry level to the industry. But equally, many people who have got a family business that they've maybe worked for generations, that operation is their life. A lot of them just felt completely lost. They just thought, that's it, we're going to turn the lights off and we may never come back to the place that's been such a big part of our life. So we decided, a small charity, we decided on the 23rd that we just had to do something. We couldn't just do nothing. We had to try. So we launched an emergency appeal on our website. We sent an email to kind of 12, 13,000 people on our database. And we just thought, whatever we bring in, whatever we can make, we'll distribute it as grants of £250. And the idea was just to kind of help people keep the wolf from the door, keep a roof over the head, food on the table, money on their electric, while the government help that we didn't know what it was going to be at that point, would clearly kick in. So we just had to try.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. And how successful was it, Jeremy? Can you give us any idea about what it raised? Or
I think what was really interesting is that we were completely amazed by the kind of outpouring of support from the UK public for hospitality.
Okay.
Given we kind of joke about it, that just a few weeks before, hospitality people were being told that they were kind of a low-skilled industry. All of a sudden, we were expecting to make 30, 50, maybe in our wildest dreams, £100,000, but all of a sudden, it just kind of went crazy. And I think that the UK public in lockdown started to feel massive affection for hospitality. I think that you don't kind of realise what you've got till it's gone, but everything from kind of, your first date in a crowded pub to your kid's baptism, to, funerals, wakes, whatever it is, like everything in life happens in hospitality venues. And I think all of a sudden woke up to that. And that just meant that there was just this vast outpouring of support. And, all of a sudden donations had hit £100,000. We were getting donations from members of the public. I remember one from a lady, early 20s, who had been saving to take her mum out for Mother's Day. And she donated what she would have given for that day out. Right, the Citibanker gave us £5,000 in cash to say thank you for all the deals that he'd struck in hospitality venues. We also had a big outpouring of support from companies. So Beerhawk, Master of Mole, Camden Townbury, all of a sudden loads of companies started fundraising for Hospitality Action and putting £1 on orders or brewing drinks in our honour. And there's just been this vast load of support that's now meant that we've made over £500,000, which is amazing. It's just absolutely amazing.
That's fantastic. And have you been able to get that money out to where it's needed, or is it still on its way?
So most of that £500,000 has now been paid out. What we did, we basically there's no fundraising events happening at the minute in venues, obviously. So we redeployed pretty much all of our staff into processing and awarding grants. Now you've got to remember we're not in our office either, so we had to kind of call in all of our kind of ingenuity and systems, and we've just all done this from home. But as of the end of last week, we'd awarded all of that £500,000. So that's over 2,000 families helped.
That's fantastic. I mean, and really reassuring to hear about the public response as well. I mean, what's your view on sort of the extended sort of lockdown, or what do you see as the impact on the industry, or more importantly, the people in the industry as a result of COVID-19 and the continued sort of lockdown?
I think what we've got to remember is that ours is an industry we're an industry of doers. We're on our feet, we're in a place, and I think it's a vocation. You're a chef, you're a hotelier, you're a restaurateur. Often before you're a husband, a partner, a wife, this is what you do. You're defined by your job. And this extended lockdown and the uncertainty, obviously, was the financial concern. But we are sadly seeing that mental health problems are really kind of bubbling up. So if you're used to kind of being on your feet for 18 hours a day, being part of a team, working really hard, to suddenly find yourself at home, you kind of almost feel like you've lost a limb. It's a creative industry, and you've just got a lot of people who have suddenly got a lot of time on their hands, a lot of uncertainty, and they're worried about the future, and understandably so. Figures published last week suggested that up to 30,000 places might not open again. I mean, a lot of people are obviously really worried, and what we've seen is kind of an increase in calls to our helpline with people just really struggling. So we are offering, phone support. We've launched a new section on our website, hospitality.org/advice, where you can get free information on looking after your mental health, homeschooling, what it means to be furloughed. So we're doing our best to kind of support people through this period of uncertainty and fear, so that when we do eventually open, our hope is that we've been able to protect people from too deeper psychological damage as a result of all the things that have happened, from bereavement to job loss to uncertainty.
And so brilliant that it's happening now, that a charity with the foresight that Hospitality Action has is on it straight away, because particularly with mental health problems, if those can be captured early, surely there's going to be a better outcome than, if problems are left to sort of digest and continue. So it's just so great to hear. And, like you say, there's some pretty scary forecasts at the moment about the industry and how many places may not be able to reopen. Demand will reduce probably for the short term until it bounces back. It's going to put a lot of pressure on a lot of families, which is really sad. So brilliant to hear about, the fundraising that's taking place. And I mean, I think you touched on it really nicely before, Jeremy. I'm just interested to see what you think will happen as we do come out of lockdown, or hospitality businesses are allowed to open. What do you sense the public reaction will be?
I mean, I think that what's really interesting is that we're an industry that hasn't kind of rolled over. We've tried. I think I've been really inspired to see the number of restaurants and chefs and stuff who've cooked food for the NHS. I think that, we're an industry that's trying to find a way through. I think that, my personal view is that people really want to get back into hospitality places, and as soon as we feel safe to do so, I think that we will. I can't wait to get back to my local pub. I can't wait to get a coffee on the way to work. I think that we, the public wants to get back. I think the challenge for operators is how they can open profitably and safely, but also, most restaurant kitchens are pretty small places. So they're going to have to work really hard to find a way to operate safely. But I know they will. This is an industry that's not going to kind of fall away. There's loads of people who love it. It's a way of life, and they'll do anything they can to make it work.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with that. I think that's my thought as well. That, I've seen some research on it, which is showing that although there are about 30% of the population at the moment that would be worried about going back into a pub until there was a vaccine or a more dynamic cure for COVID-19, there's a massive part. There's over 60% of the population that wants to get back in, wants to have that pint, as you say, in the local. And what's interesting as well, and might help us sort of balance the books a little bit, is that a good proportion of those, so around about 30% of the 60%, if you can follow the numbers, are actually new people to the industry. So they don't currently go into the industry to the local, but they recognise the need to go and support the industry. And I'm just really hopeful that that really spreads throughout the UK, and the people see hospitality and the workers as key workers. We're all applauding NHS. I make a real note every week to catch my bin men and say thank you, which I've never done for my previous years in life. And I just hope we can touch onto that in some way.
I absolutely agree. I think that, hospitality hasn't always had a great reputation as an industry, but what you can see from the public reaction to it is that it's such a big part of our life that we never realized it was a big part of our life. And actually, I've tried to cook a steak at home. I can't do it as well as they do at the house I like to go to. I think that it's a much more highly skilled and a much more kind of sophisticated and nuanced career than perhaps we realized. And I also think that we're dead lucky in this country that we've got such a fantastic eating out scene, right across the land. We've got really good local restaurants, really high quality chains. And I think that we just want that back. I think that, I certainly will feel quite at home to be out of home.
Yes, no, really good point. Really good point. And I'm seeing, as I'm sure you are, some really innovative responses, to the way hospitality operations are just innovating to be able to present their offer safely and to give the consumers confidence. Seen some great stuff down in London where coffee shops, because of the spacing elements, have not been able to bring people back in, or wouldn't be able to. So they've turned themselves into delis and things like that. So yeah, I agree with you. I think there's a resilience within hospitality businesses, and also an innovation that hopefully will give us the long-term strength. Well, there's certainly going to be a short-term gap, isn't there, where it's going to be some pain. I mean, in terms of Hospitality Action, what's the sort of funding target that the charity seeks to raise each year? Because I'm sure it's a pretty big number.
Yeah, well, we raise about £1 million a year, so and that's really been done through fundraising events. The big challenge for a charity is that all of our income has come from the fantastic generosity of people in the industry, and it tends to be at events. So it's black tie balls, it's we're the recipient of a raffle at another award ceremony, or it's stuff we organise ourselves. And obviously, when the industry comes back, margins are going to be even tighter, pressure's going to be on. So it's going to be vastly difficult for us this calendar year to kind of say, let's do a ball, let's do an event. So we're having to really think very carefully about, our own survival as an organisation and how we fundraise. And, I think that we've been so lucky to get the support of suppliers to the industry, the drinks companies, and the public, that we will continue kind of down that road of asking the public to donate to the industry until we can get events running again.
Yeah, fantastic. What could the public, for viewers that are watching us today, or hopefully on later feeds, what could the public do to support Hospitality Action?
I mean, the easiest thing to do is just go to our website, hospitalityaction.org, and just make a donation. We'll get that money to people as quickly as we can. We'll be looking when the industry does reopen to do more fundraising in outlet. So we'll be asking people to kind of add a small amount to a bill as a donation to the industry, and that money will go to kind of helping those who are the most vulnerable get back on their feet again. You know, a big part of what we do now is helping kind of as many people as we can in the industry. In the past, our helpers tend to focus on people with additional issues. So, you know, if you're in the industry, you've got a disability or you get a cancer diagnosis, then, you know, you need even more help. And those are the people who are going to be the most vulnerable for years to come when the rest of us generally get back to work.
Yeah, fantastic. And you talk about putting a small amount on the bill. How does that go down? You know, because I know that Hospitality Action do that at Christmas. I mean, what's the reaction from both the trade to doing that and the public?
It's normally pretty good. You know, we only ask usually for £1 or a couple of pounds. So it's normally, if people have had a good experience at a restaurant, then they're quite happy to kind of give that small amount in addition to the kind of the gratuity. So in terms of kind of, you know, the levels of people doing it, it's really high. We've had very few people saying, I'm not doing that, don't do that. And obviously, if that is the case, it's not a problem. You know, it's just in the same way as you would with the gratuity, it's just taken off the bill on the EPOS. So it's dead easy to do. And for the restaurants, it's easy for them because they kind of, you know, generally have the wherewithal with their kind of systems, but also it's a talking point. I think that it gives the server the opportunity to talk about what it's like to work in the industry, and also for them to kind of, you know, to show that the place that they work does its bit for the wider well-being of the industry, as well as kind of it as a business. You know, it's going to be really tough when places open again, and, you know, we can't ask the industry to kind of fundraise for us in the way it maybe has before, because they're facing an existential crisis. So by asking for a small amount to go on the bill, it's kind of asking the diner to kind of just do that little bit extra. You know, it's great that they've got back out of the house and they're coming back to hospitality venues, and, you know, everyone support your local venue as soon as it opens and you feel safe you can go there. But equally, you know, a couple of quid to Hospitality Action will help the people that you don't see who are still struggling.
It just sounds like a brilliant idea. And going back to our previous conversation about the public wanting to help and wanting to support, you know, it seems such an opportunity. So, you know, hopefully if there's any hospitalians watching today or watching future feeds, take advantage of that goodwill that we see out there and grasp this, because, you know, I think we've got a great opportunity to hopefully raise a lot of money as we go back into operation.
To keep the profile of the industry high, you know, they are the kind of the hidden set of key workers that the industry does such a vital job to society. And actually, you know, if you can spare a couple of pounds to help the most vulnerable in it, then, you know, all power to everybody. I think that it's such a nice and an easy thing to do. And of course, you know, but use hospitality, go there, you know, as soon as you can. That's the main thing. Definitely be back on its feet.
I think that's a nice message to the public, isn't it? You know, obviously we've all got fears and we've all got concerns, but you know, I think we've all got to challenge them. Look at the operations. I'm hearing fantastic things about how hospitality operators are really preparing for reopening and the lengths they're going to in terms of hygiene, safety, PPE with their teams, so making a really safe environment. I think if we can encourage the public back in to support the industry, it'll just be wonderful. And I think you're right. You made the point about people are missing it, and I saw some research that said out of all the things that people did previously and are not able to do that as a result of lockdown, hospitality and going to the pub, going to the restaurant was the second highest thing they're missing most, and the first highest thing was going to relatives. So we're right behind there, you know, after visiting relatives.
It's that little enjoyment, isn't it? It's that little treat at the end of a hard week where, you know, go for a drink with your partner or get a takeaway in or go out to a local restaurant. You know, it's such a eating out and kind of, you know, being hospitable and enjoying hospitality. It's just part of being a human being, isn't it? And I think that we've really realised that.
Definitely. Sometimes it's just those small moments in the day, isn't it? It's
little moments of joy, right?
Yeah, you know, as you talked about before, picking up your coffee, you know, but just having a nice smile or something nice, you know, connection with the person that served you, just gives you a sense of well-being. And again, back to that mental health, not just for industry workers, but the whole population. These things are important to us in life, I think. So I think it's
completely agree. And I think that kind of, I certainly, for me, I can't wait to go to the prep near my office and say hello to the team there, because we have a chat most mornings, and it's just part of my day, and that for me is going to feel, things are going to feel okay again and get me breakfast on the way into work.
Yes, yeah. Fantastic. Well, what I'll do at this point is to bring back Sean and just ask if we've had any questions. I've seen some elements flicking in front of us. Sean, I don't know if we've got any questions at this point for Jeremy. Is he here?
He's gone.
Sean's left us high and dry. I did see one of the viewers talk about what a great charity he thought Hospitality Action was, and that he won an award, looked like a Michelin award. So that's great to hear that from the industry, people have got experience of the charity and fondness towards it, and it's helped them in their career.
And I really hope that that we've raised our profile as a result of this terrible situation. But I really hope that in the future people know that we're here to help. I think probably many more of us will now know somebody in the industry who's been helped by Hospitality Action and is happy to talk about it than ever before.
Yeah. And what's going to be the biggest issue, do you think? Of all, obviously there's the financial issues, there's the mental health issues, and all the other issues that face it. What do you sense is going to be the biggest issue, if there is a bigger one, that we need to prioritize as we go back in?
I think it's with mental health. I think that people have lost colleagues to the illness. People have lost businesses. I think that mental health problems didn't suddenly start happening on the 23rd of March. People had issues prior to this kind of all happening. So I think that having an awareness of mental health, and there's going to be so much more commercial pressure than ever before. Margins are going to be tighter. It's going to be really easy to kind of go and work and not be able to kind of facilitate that mental health conversation. I think that when you first get back to work, the first thing any manager should do is kind of set the expectations to say, look, this is really hard. Talk to me, talk to HA, but know it's okay to talk. People will be afraid returning to work of their own health and that of their customers. And I think that, mental health issues, when everyone's got less money in the bank, are only going to be worse. So my plea to people in the industry is just be kind to each other and be ready to receive or start a conversation about mental health. If you're worried about somebody, if you're worried about a colleague, ask them about it. Don't let it go, because the issues that people could be living with now could be much more pronounced than they were before, just by virtue of being locked in the house for 8 weeks and also the financial pressures.
I think that's really interesting, Jeremy, and a lovely answer. And I think it touches on something I've hopefully detected, that I think there is a sense of being more kind, not just within public, but within organisations. So I've listened to a few folk and seen some stuff where there is going to be more understanding, or certainly people are talking about being more understanding with their teams. Instead of just following a rule book procedure, if you're late, if you don't come in, if you don't do this, it's this consequence. Having this much more caring response and a much more flexible response to say, well, one rule doesn't fit all, because not everybody feels the same way. One person's fear towards the situation could be completely different to someone else's, both for very legitimate reasons, but just for psychological reasons. And I think it's great to hear that within the industry, and echoes what you're saying there. So.
And for HA, our website's full of information exactly for this. We know that the hardest part of a mental health conversation is that first minute when you sit with your boss or a friend and admit that you're struggling. So it's all about trying to destigmatize that moment and then what comes from it, because once you've done that bit, the rest actually kind of follows on. So it's just a case of kind of reiterating that despite the fact the pressures are a lot more now, it's more important than ever that we make the time and space for those conversations to start.
Yeah, fantastic. What's your view on, just interested, Jeremy, because I've been asking everyone in the industry pretty much I speak to, what's your view on PPE, so personal protective equipment for teams as they go back in?
I think that...
Do you see it? So probably a poor question.
I think it's
go on, sorry.
I think it's going to be necessary for a while. I actually had a debate with a person outside the shop yesterday because I'd chosen to wear a mask. Not necessarily because I think it's going to protect me, but because I think it shows respect for the people working in the shop. As much as anything, it's my way of kind of saying that I've got some solidarity and sympathy towards the position of you working here, and I'm doing my level best not to kind of pass on the illness. So I think that it has a role to play in that respect, and I think that it's like everything in our industry. We'll just get used to it. Do you know what I mean? We'll just find a way through. And if we all have to wear face masks, so be it. I hope we've got a little HA logo on them.
Yeah, good idea. Good idea. And I think you're right. I sort of seem to be getting that from a lot of people I talk to and certainly listen to about PPE and wearing masks. It sounds alien. We wouldn't have dreamt of it 6 months, 12 months ago. But if it's what we've got to do to get back up and running and operating safely, yeah. I'm sure that's what we're going to do. I've had a little note from Brian Meller, who's talks about Golden Friends. Do you know about the Golden Friends?
Golden Friends.
Tell me about that one.
During our emergency appeal, one of the other things that we did is that we've got just over 1,500 industry retirees and vulnerable supporters who, are housebound, who are on their own. And we've always at HA, we always have our 1,500 golden friends. We send them a Christmas card, we send them a birthday card, we send them flowers. We stay in touch with these people to keep isolation at bay. Now, during this crisis, we mobilized an amazing team of volunteers to call all of these golden friends and just find out what they needed. What happened during kind of April is loads of these online groups kind of sprung up of people collecting prescriptions, all that kind of stuff, which is great. But a lot of our golden friends are quite vulnerable. They don't have access to technology. They're quite isolated. So we got an amazing group of volunteers who contacted all of our industry retirees, and where appropriate, put them in touch with local volunteer groups or local services. Because, our industry retirees have spent their whole life working in the industry. They're often on their own, and they are, the most vulnerable and kind of hidden group in society. So we've done our part to try and connect those people with their local communities, but also with industry buddies. And what's been so inspiring is that many of the people who volunteered to contact Golden Friends in this emergency, I think have built friendships that are going to last far into the future.
Wow, what a great idea and something to have in place there, isn't it? Almost like an extended mentoring program there, isn't it? It's just
it really is. The industry retirees have got such great stories to tell. They've we met one chap through this program who used to be a head concierge at the Royal Lancaster, and the GM there, Sally Beck, is actually going to bring him back in for an afternoon tea and to meet the new head concierge when all this blows over. I think that it's an industry that stays in your blood long after you've kind of retired. So it's great that we've been able to support the most vulnerable retirees in just a really practical way, organising someone to take the dog for a walk, to collect the prescription, to make sure that they've got some food coming in. It's practical stuff, but it makes such a big difference to people who are, potentially feeling quite afraid and isolated at this time.
Yeah, no, good point. And I think that speaks a lot about Hospitality Action's approach, doesn't it? That it is the practical stuff. It's helping to provide for those everyday stuff that people just need. And then it seems to me to be a charity that's very much in touch with that, very much in touch with people and their needs. How do you do that? How do you do that as an organisation?
We have, when we do our casework, we try and, where appropriate, then obviously we'll get money to people as quickly as possible. But we also try and work with other agencies to kind of look after the longer term well-being. So our caseworkers are really well trained. We work with housing associations, we work with organisations like Shelter, Macmillan. So we work with other organisations to kind of really make sure that where appropriate, we'll just give money, but also that we can kind of put in place a program and a pathway to get people to a better place. It's not just a case of there's your check and see you later. We really try and follow up with people. And with things like our Golden Friends and our Family Days Out program, a family day out is where we'll give a vulnerable. So somebody will come for us for financial assistance, and these people can be quite often in quite extreme poverty. We'll provide a day out, so we'll send people to Alton Towers or to the cinema or to the theatre or whatever, because as well as providing help for that kind of immediate situation right now, I think when you're poor, dignity is one of the first things to go. So if we can provide somebody with a bit of normality, with a day out, with a trip to a safari park, that doesn't have the guilt associated with it of having spent money that you need to spend on something else, that's often more powerful than the cash, the money we've given to help with a new washing machine or decorate a property, whatever. It can be that thing that makes you feel normal again and gives you some dignity is often the most important thing we can do.
Wow, and again goes back to that mental health position, doesn't it? Really strongly, that the way you described that, making someone feel normal, feel perhaps reducing the anxiety that they have from everyday life. That's powerful, isn't it? That's wonderful to hear. Fantastic. So I'm wondering if Sean's back with us and whether we've got any more questions that have come through. Is he there?
Hi guys, you all right?
Okay. You've been off for your bacon sandwich, haven't you?
No. I've actually set up another live, and the other live started while you guys have been talking.
Brilliant.
Wow.
It's actually been very fun and very interesting, and it's been lovely to actually hear you, because while I've been setting that up, I've actually listened to the full thing, and there's a lot of great work you have been doing. And while I've been doing bits like that, I've actually just got a new video for everyone to see from the London Patient. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that, Jeremy?
Yes, so the London Patient, Adam, an amazing story that actually started off in a really kind of human way. It really comes back to what we've just been talking about. So Adam came to us when he was suffering from a terminal cancer diagnosis, and he was financially destitute. He was on the verge of homelessness. So we helped Adam out with a grant. We also took him to see Cirque du Soleil, talking about kind of, the things that we do to look after people's psychological well-being. Adam was in a very lonely position, so we took him on a night out. We took him to see Cirque du Soleil. Little did we know that Adam would go on to be a huge phenomenon of science. So Adam was also HIV positive. In the process of receiving his cancer treatment, he also became functionally cured of HIV. So he's the second person in the world to have been cured in that way. And he's gone on to be this kind of phenomenon of science. But at the point he came to us, Adam was a chef and a lonely, quite fragile bloke. And, we offered him the same care that we'd offer to anybody else. And we helped Adam to get back on his feet again at that immediate moment. Little did we know he'd go on to become this kind of international scientific figure. But, he's a lovely chap, and we were really glad to be able to help him.
Wow, it's just incredible to hear that, isn't it? I think I'm still there. Can you still hear me, Jeremy? Yeah, can you still hear me?
Yeah.
You can. I mean, it's interesting.
I didn't know that I will become what I now represent. Hope for many talented or HIV cancer patients. Hi, I'm Adam, the London Patient. What drew me to hospitality was my passion for food. I started very humbling as a kitchen porter. I like to cook. I want people to enjoy my food. I think I found a lot of pleasure in that. My HIV started in 2003. At the time, it was very feared when I get the news to get HIV. Then by 2011, 2012, when I was diagnosed with cancer, but this time fearing my mortality and without knowing what's going to happen. Because I think when you have cancer, the panic set in. You felt really overwhelmed by the whole, wow, I'm going to die. And for me, it was like the second time around feeling that. I thought I would be prepared for it, but you never prepare for it. By 2015, the final told me, unfortunately, now you become terminally ill. How do you hear about Hospitality Action? I think I heard through Macmillan Cancer Center. Because I was chef, they told me, oh, you know, it's a charity who can help you. How Hospitality Action helped me? I think they helped me in 2 ways. They helped me financially and later emotionally as well. Financially, during all the treatments and facing homelessness. That was very hard. They maintained my level of safety net. I'm still very grateful for it. They did help me in a really incredible way I couldn't ever even imagine when I received in the post an invitation to go to a Cirque du Soleil. They gave me a big smile because I felt part of our family. I was going to see my doctor and he called me. I was on a double-decker bus and he said to me, I got very good news to you. We find a match to do the transplant, to able to cure, and we're hoping to cure your cancer, but it's something else we want to tell you. We think and we hope we can cure as well your HIV. And then a big smile came to me, wow, I'm actually going to be cured of HIV in my lifetime. I don't think I can believe it. I have a stem cell transplant. Something happened when I had my transplant. I was given a card saying, your life start again, day 0. It's very strange going back to Adam, but now at this time it's different. I go with a sense of purpose, more into helping people and giving hope. And now I treasure my life and I want to live my life to the fullest. How we can describe Hospitality Action to people in the industry, and I will describe it as a compassion charity who cares passionately about the members of the hospitality industry and the care, and I can tell you from my own experience how mentally they helped me on that situation to give me a smile in my face and to able at the same time helping me to keep a roof over my head.
We helped Adam in his time of need when he was just Adam and not the London patient. No matter who you are or what brings you to us in the first place, we're here to help you, and we'll show you the same compassion, care and support as we did to Adam. Hospitality Action, we've got you.
And I think that just pinpoints the whole support that you do give to people.
Brilliant.
It's a very emotional story, that.
Yeah, I mean, Adam's such a phenomenal chap, but, you know, we helped him in the same way as we help everybody else.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, that's been lovely, guys. Thanks very much for joining us, and please try and support.
I think the great thing is, I mean, there's such a powerful story. It would, you know, the power of that story would be significant if that was the only story that there was. But again,
yeah,
if you go to the Hospitality Action website, you'll see loads of. For me, the charity's so inspiring. And I'm just thinking, Jeremy, maybe just to wrap things up, just to sort of summarise for us.
Has anyone got any questions for us regarding sustainability,
how can people help?
eco-friendly and things like that? That'd be great.
How public best help?
So there's loads of ways to help. Members of the public, we would love them to kind of donate.
I missed that. Sorry.
There's loads of ways people can help, either via the Just Giving page here or via our website. For operators, for restaurateurs and hoteliers, I'd say do consider looking at our employee assistance program if you don't use it already. You know, for just a small amount, for £5 per employee for the year, we will be able to provide your teams with rapid access to counselling services, legal advice, debt advice, relationship advice. I think that, you know, it's quite a simple thing to do to make sure that as an employer, when your workforce comes back, that there's a safety net there that means you can focus on running your business. And to people working in the industry, I'd really say, you know, just look out for your mates. It's no longer okay to let somebody do a whole shift feeling unhappy. You know, we've all got the intuition to know when someone's struggling, and now more than ever, just put your arm around the shoulder and say the words that we believe in completely, which is, we've got you.
Brilliant advice, Jeremy. Thank you ever so much. And just to summarise that, if any of the viewers missed that, if you're a member of the public and want to help Hospitality Action, please either go to their website, or indeed there's a Just Giving link running through a lot of the media on these Facebook pages today. Give whatever donation you can. If you're in the industry, the employee support sounds fantastic. And what I understand there as well is that the employee support program actually can be offset often about the insurance that companies pay to protect their employees. So please, worthwhile having a look at that if you're in the industry and can help out that way. And I love the way you finished there, Jeremy, just saying if you work in the industry, just look out for your mate and support and be kind. So, fantastic. So thank you for your time today. Was there anything you wanted to add before we close up?
I just want to say, thank you very much to you guys. Thank you very much to everybody in the industry and the public for supporting. I think that, we will get through this together.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you, Jeremy, from on behalf of the Northern Virtual Food and Drink Festival. And Sean, back to your good self.
Ollie Hoyle, Catering Manager.
Peter Molar, Doorman.
Ricardo Oliva, Concierge.
Ulrich Edwards, Concierge Assistant.
We've got you.
Linda Anderson, Cafe Owner.
Ioana Gheorghiu, Junior Sous Chef.
Nuno Pinto, Bartender.
Mark Black, Head Porter.
Andrea Demir, Receptionist.
We've got you.
Aaron Dixon, Apprentice Chef.
Federica Pinna, Pastry Chef.
Sabino Mazzone, Pastry Chef.
Himary Bochke, Barista Supervisor.
We've got you. Shwam Maharjan, Sushi Head Chef.
Mitchell Collier, Duty Manager.
Anna Grabczewska, Public Area Cleaner.
Whatever you do in hospitality, isn't it good to know that someone's got your back in case anything goes wrong?